Hey, it's Jordan with TYT Network. It is Monday, May 9th, 2016, here in pretty sunny New York. Hope everyone's doing okay. I'll be in New York this week doing some reporting before heading to Oregon, where there is a primary next week. Hillary Clinton is fundraising some more, this time in a bipartisan way, getting money from Wall Street donors. Democratic side, Republican side, doesn't really matter. She thinks she's the general election nominee already. The mainstream media has basically portrayed the Democratic primary as over, so they're now framing segments, framing whole hours as Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton's campaign is sending out to reporters email after email attacking Donald Trump. So the framing has already begun for Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. Of course, that's not the case. Bernie Sanders is still in this contest. It's going to be very difficult for him to win, but it's not mathematically impossible yet, and I'm going to get to that in a separate video. But I wanted to share some info on Hillary Clinton's latest, Wall Street corralling. From the Wall Street Journal, Hillary Clinton is consolidating her support among Wall Street donors and other businesses ahead of the general election battle with Donald Trump, winning more campaign contributions from financial services executives in the most recent fundraising period than all other candidates combined. The Democratic frontrunner has raised $4.2 million in total from Wall Street, $344,000 of which was contributed in March alone. According to the Wall Street Journal analysis of fundraising data, the former Secretary of State received 53% of the donations from Wall Street in March, up from 32% last year and 33% in January through February of this year, as the nominating contest began. If you just look at Hillary Clinton's numbers in March, which was the last full month we have, her super PAC received $5 million just from two hedge fund managers. So $5 million from two hedge fund managers. Their names, James Simmons and Donald Sussman. Let me tell you a little bit about James Simmons. According to OpenSecrets.org, which does a lot of the investigating into donations, this revolving door between donors and politicians, Simmons has a net worth of $15.5 billion. Again, hedge fund manager. After an early career serving as a code breaker for the U.S. military, he made his fortune applying his mathematical genius at the hedge fund he founded, Renaissance Technologies. He also owns another hedge fund called Euclidean Capital. So here's the interesting thing about Renaissance Technologies. According to OpenSecrets.org, Euclidean Capital has donated over $3.5 million to Clinton's campaign, and Renaissance Technology has donated over $11 million to Ted Cruz's campaign. Now, this guy, James Simmons, owner of Renaissance Technologies has donated $11 million to Ted Cruz, who's now out of the race. Pretty bipartisan, wouldn't you say? Miss Clinton and Mrs. Cruz obviously differ in their stances, but the same organization Simmons runs donated to both Hillary Clinton and Ted Cruz. So this is what you see in all the influence of money in politics. These hedge fund managers, these big corporations, they kind of put their money in a bunch of different pots, hoping that they could gain influence whoever ends up as the candidate. This is why you see Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, all these banks donate heavily to various candidates, both on the Democratic side and the Republican side. This is why Bernie Sanders has been hitting Hillary Clinton very, very hard all election. How can you say that you are not influenced? How could you say that you're a progressive when you're taking money from anybody and everybody, many of which, like this James Sussman, who his company donates heavily, millions and millions, to Ted Cruz and other Republicans whose values do not align with the progressive cause. So as Hillary Clinton moves to the center, as the mainstream media loves to call it, as Cenk and I would say, is lying, as she moves to the center, you see she's hitting up money from all sorts of people. James Simmons, whose company donates to both Republicans and Democrats. Now, moving on, the story that came out a couple days ago, Hillary Clinton is now courting Bush donors. These include banks, private equity firms, hedge fund managers, the whole nine. Clinton's campaign is courting the Bush donors, hoping that they're part of the Never Trump movement and will give to Hillary Clinton. Now, again, this is what the Bernie Sanders supporters and the progressive movement behind him disdain about Hillary Clinton. The fact that she'll say one thing and talk about how she's a progressive who's going to get things done, and in the other breath, take money from Republicans who are for huge tax breaks for wealthy people, deregulation, don't care that much about the environment. So you see with these kind of say what you got to say on one end and take money on the other end, Hillary Clinton, she continues this mantra, I'm not influenced, or, hugs Barack Obama who took money. But this is a different time. This is a different moment where when you're taking this money from very big special interests and you're asking Republican big donors to fundraise you, it's very hard for a Bernie Sanders progressive follower to then in turn vote for someone who they see as the embodiment, the symbol of this corruption, of the money and politics revolving door. So Hillary Clinton, what you see is what you get, and you're going to have to explain how taking money from Republican donors who funded Jeb Bush and a whole other series of Republican policies, how trying to get their money goes in line with you being a progressive. I think you're going to start to see, as the general election becomes efficient, Hillary Clinton start to slowly abandon some of these progressive capital P positions she's been talking about loudly at debates and in speeches, and really focus on how Donald Trump is the enemy of all, how Donald Trump is a fascist, how Donald Trump is everything that this country cannot stand for. You're not going to see much talk about her policies. It's going to be very anti-Trump. And she's hoping that the majority of people will latch onto that, not focusing on who she's taking money from. So it's up to you. But she's courting she's courting a lot of the biggest donors that funded Jeb Bush. Bernie Sanders on this said those are the kind of things that make not only my supporters, but millions of Americans nervous, Bernie Sanders said in a recent interview. Now, if Hillary Clinton's taking the money, if Donald Trump's taking the money, it becomes a wash. And instead of money in politics being at the forefront, you start focusing more on immigration, which Donald Trump has obviously made very, very controversial comments about. You start focusing more on ISIS. You start focusing more on all these side issues instead of the core issue of money in politics. If Trump continues to self-fund and only take small dollar donations, you're going to continue to see this money in politics issue at the forefront. Because let's face it, Donald Trump is going to go a lot further than Bernie Sanders did. Bernie Sanders kind of went up to a certain line, kind of insinuated that Hillary Clinton is compromised without saying it. Donald Trump, he's going to call her a puppet, and he's going to call her a lot worse. And you know what? In this climate where both Democrats and Republicans have a populist movement against the corruption, the money in politics, the super PACs, the lobbyists, I wouldn't be so confident, Democratic establishment, that Hillary Clinton's going to beat him. I wrote a piece on this for Mediaite. I wrote why the Democratic establishment is wearing Romney beer goggles, basically saying, yes, Trump is going to have a very hard time bringing back Latinos, African American women to his side. But he also is going to have a lot of those conservative Democrats, what they call the Reagan Democrats, kind of flooding to him. He's also going to have the independents flooding to him that are now voting for him in primaries and are not voting for Hillary Clinton. Sanders has crushed her among independents. He's also going to have some of the disillusioned Bernie supporters who will not vote for Hillary and might be a little bit more open to him, thinking, oh, he's a circus act. He doesn't mean 95% of what he's saying. So I think the election's going to be a lot closer than you think. I'm going to continue spotlighting the money Hillary Clinton is taking and eventually the money Donald Trump is taking, because for me, if it's Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, I'm going to focus on both of them. And where corruption is, whether it's her, whether it's him, I'll be focusing on it. Stay tuned for more from me this week. We're going to have more videos coming out throughout the week from Indiana, where we were last week. And for more, youtube.com/TYTpolitics. We're over 50,000 subscribers now, marching towards 100, hopefully get there by the end of the election. Thanks for watching.